Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another movement practice. Thank you for everyone who joining us, and thank you to whoever is attending this session for the log session on YouTube. Okay, always any feedback is more than appreciated, and get in touch. Okay, so my name is Dan. For those of you, or short of Daniel, for those of you who are joining us for the first time. So again, just briefly, the aim of this session is to just sort of bring another way, gentle way to ease you into the day. We're always going to start fairly gentle, fairly soft with some stillness, body scan to see how you feel, especially if it's early in the morning. Maybe you can also practice this later during the day. It's also a good option. Then after that, we're going to go through some gentle mobility. You can call it mobility and flexibility exercises. Afterwards, we're just going to finish with some gentle breath work and shaking. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to push yourself a little bit more, depending on how you feel, or if you want to take it easy. I would say the general idea is to take it a bit easier rather than push hard. Okay, so as always, we're going to start with feet comfortably apart, ideally barefoot, arms relaxed. Nice upright posture. Before we close our eyes, just make sure you're aware of your surroundings. And then gently allow yourself to close your eyes. Soften your knees. Arms long and heavy. Shoulders relaxed. Belly relaxed. And first of all, try to be aware of any sounds around yourself. What's the furthest sound that you can hear? What's the closest, nearest sound? If it's very quiet, maybe you can even hear or sense your heartbeat. Then gradually bring the awareness into your body, into your breath. And notice how you feel today. How much tension are you holding? There is no right or wrong. But if possible, try to visualize that tension just melting away into the floor. And we can start from my jaw always. Think about relaxing your jaw without opening your mouth. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly. Soften your hips and your knees. Try to find the least amount of tension you need in order to stay in this upright position. And lastly, notice how heavy you are on your feet. Notice the feeling of weight between the floor and your feet. Nice and grounded position. And now before we start, we're going to do 5 times deep long inhalation in through your nose and letting it go through your mouth. And when you're ready, you can gently come back into the room, open your eyes. And you're going to softly go slightly wider with your feet, soften your knees, arms completely relaxed. And we're going to start with our rotations from side to side. Arms completely relaxed, almost weightless. Really take your time. And it's up to you how wide you want to go with your arms. As you rotate and each time look behind yourself, you're going to notice how your arms are drifting. There's this moment of weightlessness. And fade out. Let's shake our wrists. We're going to go sideways. Up and down. Fingers together, hands together. Start with rotations. Don't rush. Take your time. Notice how your hands are feeling today. Change direction. Loud and fade out. Beautiful. So next one. Think about this. We're going to reach up, inhale through your nose. You exhale out through your nose, through your mouth. Roll your spine, soften your knees into forward fold. And gently lifting up, inhaling again. So this is going to be our sequence. You can do it at your own pace. And again, bend your knees as much as you need to, especially if you have tight hamstrings. Let's give it a go. So inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. and continue. And the last one, you're gonna stay in the standing position. Beautiful. You're gonna shuffle your feet wider apart. Nothing too crazy, but wide as you're comfortable with. Soften your knees, hands on your lower back. And now we're gonna go with our chest circles. So the way I like to do it is almost like I'm bending my knee a little bit more. I'm doing mini lunge as I'm going from one side to other side. Coming back on the top and then adding a little bit of arch, maybe if possible, engaging my glutes. And we can start with one direction first. Take your time, it can be a little bit dizzying. As always, feet nice and grounded. Change direction. Notice how your hips, lower back, hamstrings are feeling. Last two. And come to a stop. Beautiful. So today we're gonna add another one. I'm gonna do a few of these. So you're gonna face one side, almost like I'm doing this mini lunge split squat variation. I'm gonna combine this motion with my arms as I'm sweeping on the floor and then reaching back. Depending on your ankle mobility or tightness, you might want to bend your knee or lift your heel off the floor. It's really nice stimulus for the ankle. If you lean back and bending the knee a little bit, it's a nice stretch on the calf. So think about this, reaching, going back, arching a little bit, and then connecting this arm motion throughout. It's up to you how low you want to go and how fast you want to go. Connect it to your breath as well. And let's give it a go first. Side. I always like to exhale as I'm going down, then inhale as I'm expanding, but it's up to you. If you feel a little bit more natural the other way around, that's also fine. Arms are light in the air. Just gonna do a few times one side. And the last one. I'm gonna change to the other side. So switch. You might notice some differences between the depth, and that's perfectly fine. Prepare. Let's go on the other side. Just remember, it's very easy to get stuck with creating tension in your shoulders and your arms. Try to keep this light. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Beautiful. Come to a stop. You're going to shuffle your feet hip width apart. You're going to tuck your chin into the chest, and then you're going to slowly roll your spine into forward fold. And you're just going to spend a few moments in this forward fold, so soften your knees as much as you need to. Relax your head, relax your neck, relax your arms, either holding your elbows or just allowing it to gently hang loosely on the floor. And then from there, allow yourself to go all the way down into deep squat. Whatever that deep squat is for you, you might need to lift your heels off the floor. That's perfectly fine, okay? Just gonna spend a few moments here, weight shifting from side to side. I always like to add this nice push into inner parts of my knees with my elbows. Just opening hips a little bit. Lovely. Next one, left hand, right ankle, left shoulder pushing the inner part of your left knee out, so reaching up with the other arm, pausing, and shift. Same thing other side. And shift again. And one last time. Beautiful. Well, so we're going to go into our low Cossack, keeping the heels off the floor as much as you need to, helping yourself with your hands as much as you need to. The idea here is to load your ankles, knees, hips, toes a little bit more while helping yourself with your hands and keeping your hips low. So we're just going to go from side to side. If I want to spend a second or two in one position, if I want to search for some stretch sensation, I can. Just remember, try to keep your hips low. We're not aiming for too much intensity here. At your own pace. And come to a stop. Lovely. So next one, we're going to go into our seiza. So you're going to sit on your shins. You're going to tuck your toes, untuck your toes back. You're just going to get used to this position. It might be a bit tender, especially if you're sitting a lot. You're not used to this. Okay, and then from there, you're just gently going to start leaning back. You're going to feel probably the stretch in the front part of your quads and front of your ankles. As always, if you need some help with your hands, be free to do so. Lovely. And then as you lean forward, place your hands on the floor for a second, tuck your toes, and then leaning back again, stretching your toes and calves as well. And then again, untuck, sit back. If you're fairly confident with this, you don't need to use your hands, obviously. And continue at your own pace. Lovely. And the last one. Beautiful. So next one, you're gonna sit on the floor. Let's say right leg, so everyone is on the same page. Right leg is straight, left leg You're gonna go over your right knee, and you're gonna try to place one of your fingers in between each one of your toes, okay? Might take you a few extra seconds, okay? And then after that, you're gonna start rotations in one direction, slowly, mindfully, don't rush. Giving a bit of love to our toes and ankles. Change direction if you haven't. Can be a very nice sensation of touch to our toes and our feet. You probably don't do that often. Lovely. Come to a stop. Same thing, other side. So cross your leg. Fingers in between each toe. And pick one direction. Change direction. Just a few more. And come to a stop. Beautiful. Okay. So we're going to gradually now start going into our more static stretches before we start putting some gentle load on our hands, shoulders, and so on. Okay. So first one is going to be this seated stretch that you probably know from yoga, where I'm going to cross my legs. So if my left leg is on the floor, I'm placing my right foot just over my left knee. And what I'm going to do now, it's probably going to notice how your right hip is already up off the floor, and that's perfectly fine. So here, the idea, I want to go around my shin, and I want to hug my leg. And the closer I bring my knee towards my chest, I'm going to feel really nice stretch on the outside of the glutes. Just going to spend here for 15 seconds approximately. So if you need to go all the way down on the floor with your forearm, that's also fine. Let's give it a go. As always, when you're doing any type of stretching, you want to always convince your central nervous system it's okay. Breathe gently. With exhale, maybe go a little bit deeper into the stretch. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Beautiful. Same thing, other side. So cross as much as you can. Go into position. So bring your shin or your knee towards the chest, and let's give it a go. Beautiful. And come to a stop. Lovely. So now we're going to go in our kneeling stretch for the back, especially for the upper back and your shoulders. So you're going to tuck your toes. You're going to go slightly wider with your knees. And now, depending on your level, either your hips are going to stay further back, or maybe you're going to have to go slightly more forward. You're going to go on your fingertips, and you're going to reach as far as you can forward. And we're just going to spend here approximately 20 to 30 seconds. I always say, try to sink down with each exhale for a few seconds, and then when you wish, you can also reset, going back up, gently bouncing, and then going down. So let's give it a go. Either on your fingertips or maybe hands flat on the floor, whatever feels better for you. Come to a stop. Beautiful. So what we're gonna do straight away here, you're gonna go on your knees and on your hands being underneath your shoulders. So we're gonna go in basic cat-cow. So tucking your chin to the chest and then rounding, extending, arching with control, okay? So let's give it a go in your own time. So after the stretch, we're starting to mobilize gently again. Connecting it to your breath. Lovely. And now what we're gonna do, the last one in this mini sequence, we're gonna do sort of the same thing, but we're gonna start working on our expanding the rib cage. And if you visualize central axis going from your head all the way to your spine, so you're gonna round your spine, go towards one side, go at the bottom, and then other side. So let's say clockwise first. You're gonna go with this rotation. So don't forget, you can also, ideally, you want to move your pelvis and your neck, your head as well, okay? So stick to first direction and let's give it a go. Keeping it soft, but adding this lovely side rotation, expanding the rib cage. Super lovely motion. And keep coming back to your breath. Make sure you're not holding too much tension. Change direction. And come to a stop. Beautiful. We're ramping up gradually intensity. Okay, so the next one, we're gonna focus a little bit more on opening, stretching the hips before we actually do the, let's call it the hardest drill here. Okay, as you probably noticed, we're focusing a little bit more on the spine than the last time. So first one, it's gonna be sort of equivalent of kneeling diagonal stretch. As we said, we want to keep it fairly light, not too intense. So if my right knee is forward, my shin is on the floor, left shin is on the floor. So what I want to do here, with my hips being square facing forwards, I want to tuck in my tailbone, okay? And already action of this, as I squeeze my glutes and do this action, I'm going to have a nice stretch on this side. When I'm going to do that, I'm going to lean back if possible and reach with my right hand, the left heel, or simply in that direction. Pausing for a second or two, and then going back. So let's do 5 of these on each side. So taking your time, always think about the cues. Okay, so tucking your tailbone, squeeze your glutes, gently lean back, reach, and that's 1. That's number 2. Being aware of your breath. Number 3. 4. And 5. Beautiful. Change sides. Just be mindful, especially if you're bony as me, you can always place a cushion or something underneath your knee. Okay, so tuck in your tailbone, squeeze your glutes gently, lean back, reach, and and 2, and 3. Even if you can't reach, that's fine. If you're going to go all the way, just intention of going in that direction. 4. And 5. Beautiful. Lovely. So this is leading us to our rotational half bridge hold. Let's hold it like that. Okay. So just before we start doing this, maybe just put some pressure on your hands a couple of times in this kneeling position, loading your hands a little bit more. Any random direction will do. Top of the hand. Notice how putting a little bit more pressure on your hands feel, going from your fingertips. Especially if you're doing hand balancing or you're spending lots of time on your hands, can be tender, sometimes randomly. Nice, beautiful. And then from here, you're gonna do this simple, lovely thing. So you can do it either from the squat or from the sitting position. So just think about hand placement. I always prefer placing my fingers pointing behind, so having that nice external rotation in my shoulder, just because this might be a little bit more uncomfortable, but it's entirely up to you. Okay, so placing my hand first, and then simultaneously as I'm lifting my hips up, my feet are maybe slightly further than hip width. I'm gonna rotate around, reaching, keeping my working shoulder above my working arm, reaching, pausing for a second or two, going back, either in the squat or in this seated position, rotating around, reaching again, pausing, and then going back, okay? So let's do 3 repetitions on each side with a mini pause in that top position, okay? Prepare. Obviously, if you move your feet slightly, knees further forward, you're gonna have more weight there and less in your hands, so it might be a bit easier if you lack flexibility. So let's give it a go. First side, going around, reaching, 3, 2, 1, going back, other side, reaching, 3, 2, 1, going back, reaching, 3, 2, 1, reaching, 3, 2, 1. One more time each side, reaching, 3, 2, 1, back, and last one, reaching, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Now, while in this seated position, you shake your wrist a little bit. And before we move on to some gentle hip work, while in this cross-leg position, here's a mini challenge for you. Just slowly start walking with your hands as far as you can, sort of folding forwards, keeping your knees close to the floor, and going with your belly in between your legs. Just gonna spend a few moments here. Relaxing the head and the neck. Breathing softly. And then slowly roll your spine back in the seated position. Beautiful. So, as we spend a few moments with our spinal work, now we're gonna gently find ourselves standing upright, and we're gonna, towards the end, we're just gonna finish with a little bit of single leg balance, a little bit of horse stance, playful exploration, and then we're gonna do our shaking and our breathing, okay? So first one, you're gonna have a task, always a good idea the more and more that I work with people, you can really see, especially as we're getting older, balance is one of the first things that goes away. So it really makes sense to sort of introduce balance practice, especially in our feet, in our legs, daily. Okay. So what we're going to do first, just simple tasks. So make sure your left foot is nice and stable on the floor, keeping the left knee soft, keeping your arms relaxed. Other leg is going to be up in the air. And for 1:30, I'm just going to gently start, maybe just standing still. Might be a good challenge for you already. Keeping your breathing nice and controlled. But if this feels fairly easy and you feel okay with this, you can gently start exploring the space around, almost like I'm drawing shape with my free leg. And again, trying to keep it soft, not looking for too much tension, although you are definitely going to notice your ankle, your calf working. I notice it in your hip as well. And then if you wish, you can start increasing the amount of shape, the height. Just remember how much range we have in the hip. Counterbalancing with your upper body, using your arms if necessary. Just challenging your balance, your mobility, and your strength. 20 more seconds this leg. If you start moving your gaze, your eyes from point to point, sometimes maybe even randomly, it might put you even more out of balance. It's a really good practice. 6 more seconds this leg. And come to a stop. Before we continue on to the other leg, just make sure if you're starting to lose balance, try not to tap the floor non-stop with your foot. Allow your body to gently lose balance, then reset. As your body is, you're going to learn something better rather than just resetting non-stop. Prepare for the other leg. Ready? And let's give it a go. Again, just use the position first. Keep coming back to your breath, especially as you're starting to do this more, let's call it more intense tasks. Notice what's happening with your midsection. Are you really tensing up? How's your breath? I'm not going to say what's right or wrong. Simply try to be aware of what's happening with your breath. And now again, if you're feeling comfortable, you can gently start moving the leg softly, almost like you're underwater or the space. Thirty more seconds. Last 10 seconds. And come to stop. Beautiful. Shake your feet. And the next one, we're just going to do one round, longer round where we're now much more stable and grounded, hopefully. So feet are going to go wide. We're going to sort of go in the equivalent of horse stance. But rather than just staying in this position, you can either do squats or you can go from side to side, pick a direction, or you can keep changing direction. Keep your arms nice and floaty. And it's a really nice visualization. What I mentioned earlier with single leg balance, think about almost like you're underwater, okay? So we're just gonna spend up to a minute here gently exploring this range, okay? So driving the knees out, keeping our feet grounded. Let's give it a go. If you feel the need to move your arms to create some shapes, you can. Just keep it very, very soft. Every time when it's a little bit too intense, simply lift up and then sink down again. Halfway there. Fifteen more seconds. Last 6, 2, 1, and come to a stop. I don't know about you, it's a lovely sensation, sort of very powerful, but at the same time, very, very, very soft, okay? So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna finish with a little bit of shake. We're gonna start with the legs this time. So you can be supported by the wall. If you don't have support, you can do standing. So start from your foot, gently. Sometimes it can be very tricky to dissociate foot, ankle from the rest. Then start introducing knee. And then lastly, your hip can always be supported onto something. I'm quite used to this one. Just drawing away tension out of this leg. Forwards, backwards, sideways, whatever feels good. Love. Same thing other side. Start from your ankle. Introduce knee gradually. And then hip. This is just a suggestion, the way I'm doing sort of this loose pattern from side to side. It's a very nice one. You can go forwards, backwards as well. Lovely. Come to a stop. Keeping your feet on the floor and just gently bouncing through your knees. Keeping your arms relaxed. So now you're going to focus on the upper body as we're starting to create this nice push into the floor, creating this ripple effect as I'm going through my knees. It's creating the ripple effect traveling up through your body. So hopefully it's going to affect your upper spine and your arms. And you can start introducing long inhalations. Long exhalations. I always like to close my eyes as well, but it's up to you. You can also keep your eyes open. You can maybe go from side to side. I think a little bit of rotation. You can play with tempo. You can be faster. You can be slower. And then gradually gonna fade out. Make sure you don't just suddenly stop, always slowly, slowly, slowly fade out. Keeping your eyes closed. Just revisit that feeling from the beginning of the session. And try to compare it to how you feel right now. And again, there is no right or wrong. Simply being observant is what's already beneficial. But hopefully you feel lighter, looser, ready for new daily victories. And then when you're ready, open your eyes, come back into the room. And that's gonna be it. So thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you have some value from this simple, but I think we think fairly effective sort of ways to introduce you into the day. And whatever you're going to do, it's a nice practice on its own, or it can be a nice sort of warm up for some other heavier practices. So thank you so much again. Enjoy, take care, and see you soon. Bye.